guys, it's Melanie. Today I'm going to share with you my final thoughts on microblading. I had this done for the first time at the end of October and a few weeks ago had my touch-up appointment. So my eyebrows are completely healed at this point, and I just want to give you guys some final thoughts on whether I thought the whole experience was worth it. What was different in the touch-up appointment from my initial appointment? I wrote down some things that I think are important to know that I don't actually hear a lot of other people mention in some of the other videos that I've watched. So I'm just gonna go ahead and dive right into it. I might skip around a little bit, but hopefully you can follow along. Okay, so I'm gonna start with the touch-up appointment. The first couple videos that I posted on this, I will put in the description box down below. So you can go check out some more information there. But the touch-up appointment was, like I said, a few weeks ago now, and it was different from my initial appointment. When I did my first video about it, I had mentioned that, she put the numbing cream on, and that I didn't felt like the numbing cream really worked, that I definitely felt everything that she was doing, but that it was very bearable. Now, when I went back for my retouch, she said that she was not going to numb me up for the first pass because she wanted to be able to very clearly see everything, and she just felt that everything healed better if she didn't numb it up for the initial pass. But that when she was going to go through and do the ombre effect, which I'm going to talk about in a second, that she would numb me up at that point with a quick numbing gel type stuff. So it hurt. I'm not gonna lie. So I was at least partially numb that first go around, but that was still really uncomfortable. This go around definitely hurt. So if I were one of you who said in the first video, it hurt so badly, I can see why you said that it hurt very badly. It was much more uncomfortable without any numbing solution first being applied at all. Not unbearable. Honestly, I still did find it bearable. I flinched a little bit more, but I've also had other tattoos. So for me, it hurt about the same as a regular tattoo, which, it hurts. I want to put this out there to people just in case they have this massive fear of the pain. I do want to let you know that it is uncomfortable. I have also kind of surmised that different technicians leave the numbing solution on longer. Some leave it on for less time. Honestly, my technician did not leave it on for very long. A lot of the videos that I've watched, people have said that this numbing solution was on their brows for a half hour, 45 minutes. Mine was on maybe for 5 minutes, and that was it. And that was, obviously at the initial appointment. But the second go around, there was no numbing solution applied at first, and it was uncomfortable, but still bearable for me, still not something that would personally scare me off. But if you are not a pain person, you might want to think about that. Let's go back to how I mentioned before she did the ombre effect. So when my brows healed, they were definitely very patchy. I did the dry healing method, and there was quite a bit of pigment that came off with what seemed like sheets of skin that were peeling from my eyebrow area. They were pretty patchy, and I filled in my brows after they were done completely healing until my touch-up appointment. And I was talking to her, and I thought, honestly, I fill my brows in every single day, and when they healed, I had the strokes put in initially. Because I have the oily skin, the strokes didn't really take. They were much wider. they spread out significantly and basically filled in my brow area to where it looked like I had maybe done a bad job of filling in with brow powder, you know, because there were some patches where the pigment didn't take, and so, you know, I was having to fill those areas in anyway. And I actually like the look of a more solid brow. So the two options that she offers are the hair stroke brows, as well as what she calls ombre brows, which some other technicians call powdered brows. She calls them ombre brows because she does do some hair strokes in the front of your brows and then fades it into a more solid powdered look. She used a different tool for that, and it was basically a bunch of needles clumped together in kind of like a circular formation versus like the blade looking formation of the individual needles for the hair strokes. So what was different was that for this go around, she spent a lot of time stamping, or I thought she was stabbing me, because that's kind of what it felt like. She was stabbing the pigment into my skin versus like dragging to get the hair strokes. It took a decent while longer, and I did have to pay extra to do this because my touch-up, I was a little bit confused because, I mean, it makes sense now, but I had to pay for the touch-up, and then I also had to pay the difference for the ombre brows. It was fine. It was fine. But, so she, you know, stamped the pigment in and filled in all the areas where it was lacking. She put in more hair strokes in the front because they really didn't take there very well, and also extended this brow a little bit because the pigment here at the end of the brow kind of fell off. So she fixed everything very nicely, and when I left, it looked like a really nice, solid ombre brow. I could see the hair strokes in the beginning, and then the hair strokes became more solid, and then just like solid towards like the middle to the end part. My brows healed much quicker the second time around. I mean, I was done peeling at day 5. All the flakes had fallen off, and my brows looked pretty darn good. I really honestly prefer this powder look, and that is what I will continue to do going forward. There are still a couple of areas where she either missed a couple spots or again where the pigment didn't take. Also, she used a slightly darker color this go around. It was a taupey brown mixed with a lot of gray. The first go around, it was a lighter taupe with a lot of gray in it. I was very clear with her that I wanted my brows to be gray. Most people don't request that because most people going in to do this probably don't have gray hair, but I wanted my brows to match my hair color, which is my natural hair color. I'm not changing it anytime soon, and I didn't want to have to worry about my brows looking too warm or looking like they didn't match my hair at all. So I was like, make it look gray, that's what I want, and she definitely did. So I'm very happy with the color. Like I said, there are still a few spots where I definitely have to fill in, and right now my brows are powdered in just a little bit. Some of the previous videos that you may have seen over the last week or so, my brows look a lot lighter, and that is my brows without any of the powder in them. I prefer a little bit of powder, especially when I'm on camera, but I don't have to powder them. I wake up in the morning and my brows are just there, which is a wonderful feeling. I'm still using the exact same powder that I used before with the same brush. This is my Smashbox. Is it rubbed off? No, it's the number 12 brush from Smashbox. I love this. And then I'm still using my Tarte Amazonian Clay Volumizing Brow Powder in gray. So I just take the smallest amount of this and just run it like through the entire brow, and that leaves me with this. I'm very happy with the thicker look of my brows. She did thicken them a little bit, by the way. I'm very happy with the overall shape of my brows. She mimicked what my natural brows used to look like very well. I'm very pleased with everything about them, and I'm very glad that I did it. It was well worth the investment. By the time that it was all said and done, It ended up being roughly a little over $600 with tips and everything like that. So it's not cheap. It is not going to be for everybody. I do think that it will fade within the next year. I have completely prepared myself for that. My skin is extremely oily. It just is the way that it is. But the convenience of this is amazing to me, and I'm willing to save money. So I'm willing to pull money from other parts of my budget to be able to save to do this again next fall. I will absolutely 100% do it again. I don't know that I will go back to the same person. And not because I wasn't happy with what she did, but because I'm actually curious to see how another technician would do my brows. Like, I'm honestly just curious about, you know, if they would still recommend the ombre brow, if they would do the same shape, if they would have the same technique, if they would leave the numbing cream on longer, what their thoughts are on the numbing cream, if it affects, you know, the end result. I'm just curious about all that kind of stuff. So for that reason, I think that I might actually try someone different this next go around. I do know what she used on me, so I can take that information to the next technician, and that way they can use something that would, again, be compatible with what I had the first go around. So that is my plan, is to have this redone again next fall. If my brows fade completely before then, I'm still gonna wait until the fall. I think it's just a little bit better to do it then because I'm not out in the sun as much. I don't have to worry as much about protecting, you know, that fresh tattooed skin basically from the rays of the sun. I don't spend a lot of time outside in the fall or the winter really, so there's not as much worry about, you know, making sure that I'm wearing a hat or something to protect that delicate area while it's healing. So if it fades more, then I'll just have to go back to coloring in my brows even more, but that's fine. I'm also curious, you know, if over the long term, having this done on a regular yearly basis, if maybe the pigment will last longer over time. We'll have to see. I know some of you had mentioned that, you know, you're worried about the long-term implications of having this tattoo basically, well, it's microblading, but having this like microblading done year after year, if it could lead to permanent scarring or something like that. I don't really have a concern about that. I don't have any scars from having it done right now. If I did notice something like that, I would probably stop doing it, but my skin heals really well, really quickly. I don't have any health issues that affects the healing in any kind of way. So I'm confident in, you know, doing this again. I don't have any concerns about it. One thing you might want to think about though is if you are someone whose skin does not heal very quickly, or if you develop keloid scars or anything like that, I don't think that you should do something like this. I would actually talk to a dermatologist or your doctor first just to see what their thoughts are on it. You definitely don't want to get into a situation where you have your brows done and then you develop massive scarring in that area. That's on your face. People are going to be able to see that. You're probably going to be self-conscious about it, and you might really regret the decision. Do a little bit of research if you know that you have any underlying health conditions that can affect the way that your skin heals. So make sure that you do that first. I mentioned before that I used the dry healing method. That is something that I've noticed a lot of other people use the grapeseed oil or the coconut oil to keep their eyebrows hydrated. Normally, the lady that I went to recommends that, but because of my oily skin, she suggested the dry healing. So I feel like my healing was a lot more rough than what I've seen for other people in terms of their healing. You know, they talk about like a few little flakes here and there. Like, I posted a couple pictures on Instagram, like they were flaking off. I'm talking like big chunks, and it wasn't pretty. It was really hard for me to go out certain days, and it made me self-conscious. And I did notice people looking at my brows and I'm sure they were wondering what is happening on your face. No one really like said anything, but you know, they're just kind of like, what's going on up there, you know? So the dry healing method it's rough, but I do think it was probably the best fit for my oily skin. Again, I'll be curious to see if the next person that I go to, if they suggest the dry healing or if they want me to keep the area hydrated. I'll be very curious to see what their thoughts are on that. A couple of things that I wanted to mention. One concern that I had when everything kind of started flaking off at first was that in some areas I couldn't see the pigment underneath. And in some areas that pigment never came back up. So those areas were just patches where either she missed a spot or it didn't take, period. But I did notice that after everything was healed, I could actually see the pigment underneath the skin, and I was experiencing something called milk skin, which is where the pigment needs to rise back up. So it's covered by the new fresh skin, and as your skin naturally exfoliates, that pigment actually comes up and gets darker again. So if you're someone who is in the healing process right now and you're like, where did my brows go? Do know that in all likelihood, you might have some patches, but you're probably experiencing this thing called milk skin, which is where you're gonna have to wait for your skin to naturally exfoliate to see that pigment. So it might be a few weeks after you are done kind of initially healing and the scabs fall off before that pigment comes through again. So just kind of keep that in mind. Some things to think about. Having this done really affects the way that you do your skincare. You cannot get your brow area wet at all during the healing process. There's 2 weeks where you are not supposed to get your brows wet. That makes washing your hair a little bit trickier. I was able to do it very easily. I just kept a clean, dry washcloth right next to the shower, and anytime that some water kind of splashed in this area, I would immediately pat it away. I didn't put on saran wrap or anything like that. I didn't get crazy about it. I also made sure my showers were a little bit cooler so there wasn't as much steam, which would potentially loosen the scabs earlier. I was very careful about that. So just kind of know you're gonna have to be diligent with not getting your eyebrows wet. So for my cleaning my face, I clean the bottom half of my face normally every single day with my Clarisonic and my Foreo Luna and everything like that. But for my forehead, I had to use makeup remover towelettes. My skin was angry. It was like, wait a second. We're used to getting the royal treatment here, and my forehead looked rough. It really did. It is just now starting to kind of return back to normal. I'm starting to, use some glycolic acid way up on my forehead. You cannot bring your normal skincare products, especially your retinols, your glycolic acids, your lactic acids, anything that's going to exfoliate or brighten your skin. You cannot get that near your brow area because that will fade the pigment, and you're going to be real upset after you spend, $400 to $600 on your eyebrows, and you are putting your skincare in there because you want to take good care of your skin, and everything just kind of disappears a lot quicker than it might otherwise. So just be careful. I really have I have this barrier here where I don't put my skincare products anymore. They can travel just a little bit, which is why I definitely leave a decent sized buffer. But I'm very, very careful about where I apply my skincare products now. I also no longer sleep on my stomach for fear that I might smush the skincare down into my brows. So I have converted to a back sleeper, which is not necessarily a bad thing. Sleeping on my stomach is terrible for me. So, but just make sure that you are not getting your, especially your acids and all of that kind of stuff near your brows. You're just going to cause that pigment to fade much, much faster than it would otherwise. Keep makeup away from your brows as much as possible when they're healing. I still wore makeup because I still did videos from time to time, but I really, again, I left this barrier of Not even my Paula's Choice Resist Super Light Daily Wrinkle Defense went down like towards the brows because I was like, I'm not supposed to put anything in there, so I didn't. I do bring it like really close to my brows now, but I don't put it directly in the brows. So you should, however, protect your microblading with SPF. So in the summer, I will get just a regular SPF that doesn't have a moisturizer in it and put that through my brows so that area is protected. Make sure that you are washing your makeup brushes very frequently while your brows are still healing. If you are, you know, putting makeup around your brow area, just make sure that everything's very clean and very tidy because you don't want to cause any infection. The safest bet, honestly, is just to not put any makeup anywhere near there at all. Just probably go barefaced. That wasn't really an option for me, but I just made sure every single day that I was using clean brushes, clean everything. I didn't touch my brows at all. By the way, my brows were never itchy. I hear a lot of people talking about their brows being itchy. My friend Kate, when she had it done, she was like, I just wanted to scratch them off, but mine were never itchy. I don't know if that's because of my oily skin or what, but yeah, I never once really like touched them. I just tried to keep the area very clean and just very tidy. But yeah, I'm looking at my notes here just to make sure I covered everything. Clean makeup brushes, showering, sleeping, skincare, milk skin dry healing method. Yeah, so I think I covered everything. I'm really happy I did it. It makes getting ready a breeze. I shaved 10 minutes off my morning routine. When I fill my brows in, I mean, it's literally like I do like this and this and that's it. Like I do run a brush through there just to make sure that everything is like, you know, kind of even, but that's it. And I wash this very frequently, by the way. So yeah, it's easy, you guys. Life is so much easier. I'm gonna continue to do it. I did not have any adverse effects from it at all. I didn't have a reaction to the pigment. I didn't have any scarring of any kind. I'm very happy. I know that it's a huge expense. It's not something that everybody can afford. It's something that I'm willing to cut in other areas of my beauty life for to be able to maintain because it just makes my life so much easier. I had very little brows to start with, you guys, and I have to say I've actually been able to regrow my brows a little bit because I'm not constantly like plucking the strays. They're actually growing in a little bit, which is fantastic. So I'm happy. Anyway, let me know if you guys have any additional questions down below in the comments, and I will link my first couple of updates. One of the updates was like in a Friday favorites, so you'll have to skip to the end, but yeah, just I'm happy. So let me know what your guys' thoughts are, if you've had it done, what your experience is, how fast it faded for you, all of that good stuff. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next video. Take care.